Yesterday, Lilith announced everything that's going to be coming to the game in the newest update, coming out in around 5 or so days. And it is crazy, some of the stuff they announced here, which you would think doesn't really make that big of a change, but it really does make some major changes. For example, dispatching multiple troops at once is insane and probably one of the worst decisions ever. So if you're interested in all the stuff coming in the new update, especially this sending multiple troops at once, you definitely want to check out the rest of the video. So the first thing that Lilith said they will be adding to the game is a new trust system and commander stories. They said, we've added the new trust system and tons of new dialogue for 8 commanders with more on the way. Xiao Xiao, Minamoto, Ethelflaed, Cleopatra, Sundok, Joan, Scipio, and Sun Tzu. I'm presuming the Joan and the Scipio will not be primes, they will just be the normal Scipio and Joan. And it's going to be what I would guess very similar to, for example, the Call of Dragons, how you have little commanders walking around your city. See how right now this guy's walking through my city? If that was a commander in Call of Dragons, I could click on them and I'd get like a small bit of dialogue and I'd do maybe a small mission like kill a barbarian or walk to this part of the map. That is really what this, I guess, story mode for the commanders is. So they're kind of moving a little bit in on a Call of Dragons system there, and I play Call of Dragons. I personally don't mind this system. It's kind of cool to see commanders like Ethelflaed walk around your city. Like, that's going to be pretty cool, especially once you own all these commanders. It'll be really, really cool just to see, like, Minamoto, Ethelflaed, Cleopatra walk around. It gives a nice bit of a unique vibe to the city. Like, when was the last time you saw a commander in your city? Never. Unless you glitched them inside, it's basically never going to happen. So I actually really, really like that change. The next part of this is it says the above commanders will show up in your city. You'll be able to interact with them, like I said, and you can increase their trust by talking to them or gifting them golden apples. So that is, once again, very similar to the Call of Dragons thing, except in Call of Dragons, I think you give them, like, sugar or syrup or some specific item. But once you increase their trust, you pretty much get, like, some gold keys, some speed up, some gems, like, very, very small rewards, but they are nice for something that you literally do for free. It says, as you increase the commander's trust, you unlock new chapters of their biography, so their history, and exclusive new dialogue with full English voice acting. The voice acting I'm not too fussed about, but I do like the idea of unlocking more of their biography. That is a unique way to put a little bit of history into the game, because yes, this game is based on history, but we don't really see much of it, so I don't mind this. I'm hoping that it isn't like how when you do troop dispatches and you like speak to them and it covers your whole screen and it gets really annoying. Like, if I were to do a troop dispatch and I get to like the 20 spot, or I do like a bunch of dispatches, you'll see my screen gets covered up by the epic ones like this. I don't want it to be like this. This is going to be annoying. Like, I want it to be the Call of Dragons where it's like little dialogue pop-ups. You just click the button. You can kind of spam your way through if you want or listen, but we'll see when that comes. The next thing they said is once they've reached certain trust levels, you also unlock exclusive animated emojis for that commander. So that's cool. That means we're going to get like, what, 10 more animated emojis that everyone can access. You don't have to spend money, you don't have to spend gems. So I really, really like that. I often find there aren't enough emojis, and I do like using them when I'm on the open field. Like, these are cool. I like using these. Like, see, that's a cool emoji, and I'm happy that they're adding a few more that are quite easy to access, so everyone will be able to use them. Also, the next thing that they announced were basically the usual season events coming around. I'm not going to try read the QIXI stuff. That's just them talking about the season events coming. First of all, Esmeralda's Prayer. We know this. There's a wheel, basically. It's a Wheel of Fortune, except with a bunch of other stuff. And if you land on specific rewards, you get the whole wheel. So we've seen that event before. Esmeralda's Treasures. Try your luck to win some of Esmeralda's riches. I'm pretty sure Esmeralda's Treasures is an event we've also seen before. And then War of the Ruins, we know this one. It's basically like a Battle Royale mode in Rise of Kingdoms. I actually really like this game mode. It's quick, fast-paced, and very, very fun. Race Against Time, that's a very boring game mode. Basically, you kill as many barbs as you can, as quick as you can. Good rewards, though, if you do it right. In Search of Wonders, now we're going to get a nice armament event. We haven't seen many armament events besides In Search of Wonders, so it'd be cool to see something new, but we are getting the same old In Search of Wonders. Basically, it's just Wheel of Fortune, except with armaments. It's also only going to be open to kingdoms that are in Season 3 or Season of Conquest at the start of the event. They said you can see the event calendar for detailed schedule. Some of the events will only be available in kingdoms where they have existed for at least 21 days. That is very, very stock standard. Then we got some Lost Kingdom optimizations. They improved the rewards for certain Crusader achievements. These improvements will take effect for the Lost Kingdoms that begin after the update. I'm going to presume that they're adding possibly transmutation stones. Actually, it tells you here, for kingdoms in Season 2 to Season of Conquest, they've added formation choice chests to the rewards of certain Crusader achievements, so that's nice. More formations is never ever a bad thing. For kingdoms in Season 3 or Season of Conquest, they've added transmutation stones, like I said, to certain rewards. And then they've also reduced the difficulty of some Lost Kingdom Chronicle quests in the Endless War, Distant Journey, and Light and Darkness stories. I'm thinking those are just different types of stories, so possibly there is no longer a 30 million kill event in KVK 1, which actually makes sense. So we will see where that goes when it comes out. And they've also reduced the difficulty for capturing the Crusader Fortress in these specific KVKs. So often I'm guessing kingdoms may find it difficult to actually capture those fortresses, especially now that we do notice some kingdoms have less players than they used to back in the day. Then you would expect them to have a little bit of trouble capturing Crusader fortresses, so that is probably a good change. Next, they've added the Season Accolades leaderboard, which is interesting. In the last 3 days of the Lost Kingdom, you'll be able to view the governors with the most units killed and most units lost, and most units healed. I don't know why the healed is on there, but I guess that's a thing in the Lost Kingdom. So that is similar to, you know how some kingdoms will bot the stats for their kingdom? Hopefully you can look at like the top 1,000 of your kingdom to try and get a gauge of who is where in your kingdom. That would be really good. I feel like this is just going to be, though, like one of those things where it's you against the whole entire Lost Kingdom, and most players who aren't Wales aren't even going to see their name on there, so this may be a bit of a useless change. In stories where you can dispatch 2 troops to join rallies, they've optimized the process of replacing troops. You can now replace a single troop instead of replacing both together. That makes sense. Then they said during the first stage of the Eve Crusader event, you can now trade scraps of parchment with governors all in your kingdom, not just with your fellow alliance members. That is really good. I often find that even in a top alliance for my kingdom, the most active one, it's still kind of hard to find some trades that you want. So I'm quite happy with that change, and I think most players will quite enjoy that. It does mean that you'll be left with way less like useless scraps left in your inventory at the end of the event. I often find I have like 20, 30 scraps I just can't even use because no one's trading or there's no trades available that I can give. So it is nice being able to trade with the whole kingdom. They've also optimized the Past Glory event. This is the thing that happens when you're rebuilding your ruined Crusader fortress. These changes will take effect for Lost Kingdoms that begin after the update. The changes are the difficulty of some events have been adjusted depending on your season. So probably KVK 1, 2, and 3, you have to kill less barbs, or I think it's donate less sculptures. And the other one is, I think, farming resources. No, donating resources. You have to donate less resources. The maximum duration of each stage has also been changed. 3 days for the first stage, which is the resource and gem donation. 2 days for the second stage, which is barbing, and 2 days for the third stage, which is donating commander sculptures. If the task for a given stage hasn't been completed yet, by this time, the event will automatically move on to the next stage, and basically it just automatically completes it, whether or not you finish that event. The next thing, which I really don't like what it's about to say, they said there is now a limit to how many hero medallions you can earn during the third stage of the event. The third stage is the best value. It's the one where everyone is excited to get their 20 free gold heads by donating commander sculptures, and they're putting a limit to how many medallions you can actually earn. Once you've earned the maximum number, you can still donate sculptures to speed up the reconstruction of your Crusader fortress, but you will not earn any more hero medallions. Well, there is really one thing to note here. If it is a really low number of medallions, like to the point where you can't get the 20 gold heads anymore, I'm personally going to be very upset because that was the best free-to-play value like in the game. If it's just like you can't buy all the resources in the shop plus everything else anymore, I don't care nearly as much. As long as it's still a decent number that you can get, like a decent number of medallions, then that would be fine. Maybe they're just like you can't stash them anymore, but I think you could never stash the medallions regardless. So I am hoping that you can still buy all the gold heads, buy all the gold stars, and buy all the epic heads. That's what I really want from this, and hopefully that's what it's going to be. Because if they make it so you can't buy all the generic gold heads, there's definitely going to be some outrage, since this is really the only way to get that many gold heads for free as a free-to-play or a low spender. Then they optimize some functional text in Lost Kingdom. These are all cosmetic changes and have no effect on gameplay. PC optimizations, they can now use their email address to log in. They added commands when right-clicking players' avatars, so I presume if you like go in here and then right-click them like this, maybe? Or if you right-click them like this. Either one of those. So that I don't know what commands they can add there. Block maybe, mute, find location. Not sure. We'll have to see when that happens. They've also optimized the performance/design of the setting page. I mean, I think it was pretty good, but that's okay. And then other changes. I wish they went a bit more in depth there, but there are other changes. They then optimized the Heart's Desire event. You can change your preferred commander while the event is ongoing. That's nice. I didn't like how you couldn't change commanders before, but now you can. And this change will take effect for instances of the event beginning after the update. They also added Champions of Olympia, Ark of Osiris, and Lost Kingdom accolades to a governor's profile. Not sure what that means. I'm guessing since it's the accolades, you're going to see how many deads you got, how many troops you healed, and how many sevs you gave. So, interesting. I'm not sure how these accolades are going to work. They sound interesting. Possibly it's just going to like list out your performance from each KVK, probably starting after the update. I doubt they're going to be able to get the old information. They might still have a way to access it, but this might be the new version of kill points is what it's really looking at the moment. The next change is a pretty good one. If one of your troops fights multiple battles without returning to your city, all battle reports for that troop will be grouped together under one single subheading in your inbox. So probably it's just going to say like Boudica Prime verse and then ... and you can be able to see all of the battles that you did in one very nice compact section instead of like, if you look here, look at all these reports. Hopefully, like half of these will be compact in one section. So, for example, my Boudica, for example, for all these Melfast, hopefully they just get grouped under that one section, that one tab. So that would be really, really nice. Then here we go into the combat optimizations. And the main thing that I really don't like is they added the ability to dispatch multiple troops at once. on the dispatch screen. You check the multi-select box to select which one of your saved templates you want to dispatch. So you can save a bunch of templates. So I'm presuming, for example, if I go out like this, I'd be able to just dispatch all these troops at once, pretty much instantly. That is the worst change I think that they've ever done, and you know why? City popping is already one of the biggest issues in the game, as in no one likes it. Everyone loves when they're city popping someone, but no one likes getting city popped. Now imagine a whale with 7 marchers can just jump out of their city instantly. Imagine me, I run 3 archer marchers. Imagine I dropped 6 skill cycles into someone and I jump back in my city. Ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous, being able to drop that many troops out. Now obviously it is way more convenient. I don't have to drag each one of my marchers out one at a time. But the second someone walks near my city, I can just jump out 6 marchers pretty much instantly and just decimate someone. If I had 6 marchers and I was wailing on Crystal Tech, I could decimate a whole entire march, get back in my city before anything happens. Like, I'm gonna get a scratch. I could drop like an XY skill cycle. I could drop a Nevsky. I could drop a Boudica, Henry. All these commanders good skill cycle. I could get back in my city, and then the next person that walks by, I just jump out with every single commander again. The reason this is really a big issue is because the main downside of city popping was you couldn't use a whole murder ball, but now you can literally city pop with a murder ball. Lilith said at one point they were not really considering making a multi-dispatch, but now you can just jump out. So the only way this could be good is if, let's say, I was in my city and I push to attack a player and I go new troops, I can't just jump out with all 7 marchers. I guess another way they could do this is a small delay between the time each march pops out. For example, let's say I was to multi-march all my troops out, and then I send the Boudica, and then 2 seconds later, the game automatically sends Henry. 2 seconds after that, automatically sends Nebu. That is one way that it could be done that would actually be somewhat good, but jumping out 7 troops at once is definitely going to be very bad. So I do hope there is some small amount of delay. Like you can see here, I can drop out 3 troop marches pretty quickly right now, and if the delay was very similar to this, even a little bit quicker, it would be fine. But if it is dropping out 7 marches instantly, as if I was just sending out 1 march, that is definitely not good and is not going to be a good change for the open field, as whales will just be able to decimate people. Even a low spender like myself, I'll be able to decimate a whale because they've just basically stood by my city, let's say to defend a flag, and then I jump out with 3 marches and I start swarming them. They turn back on me, I jump back in my city, I repeat it. Like, you can stop one city popper by preparing for when they're going to jump, but you can't stop someone who's popping with 3 marches at once. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, besides multi-troop dispatching, they added garrison plans for your city. So if your city is missing one of your default garrison commanders, your city will switch automatically to the next available garrison plan. That is good. That means if you're in your city and you dispatch your garrison, let's say you're inside of a flag, and then you're also getting rallied, and let's say your usual garrison is like Heraclius YSS, but your Heraclius YSS is in a flag, you can set it to be a Zeno Flavius, for example. So that is not bad. For example, when I was in Ark of Osiris once, I pretty much got zeroed, but because in my city, my wall was set to like a Kusunoki with a Netherfled, because my Boudica wasn't in my city, but my Henry was still in my city. So I don't mind having an automatic garrison swap. I know I'm personally going to be setting my garrison priorities. So that's actually a pretty good change, and it is going to save a lot of players who are pretty much on the open field with their garrison, and then they get rallied. The next change was whenever dispatching troops to join a rally or garrison, if there are multiple recommended unit types, the system will prioritize adding recommended unit types when creating a default troop in descending order of priority. So does that mean they start off with infantry and end with siege? Well, actually, that's what it means. So you get infantry as your main troop. They'll try and put as many infantry. Then they'll try to put cavs. Then they'll try to put archers. And if you don't have any of those troops, then they'll put siege units. So apparently, infantry are the best garrison troop, guys, confirmed here by Lilith, because that is the descending order of priority. They've also improved the tap and hold interactions on the map, reducing the chance of tapping on things by mistake. I don't mind that. I often find that sometimes I click on just completely things that are just not my march. So I'd actually really, really like that. Hopefully that makes it a little bit better, especially when you're in a big murder ball. Let's say I was in a murder ball right here. I'm clicking my allies' marches or enemy marches. I'd really like to click my march. So that is a very good change, and I quite like that. They've also made fog effects in Olympia and Ark of Osiris smoother and softer. That's something I've personally complained about before. Sometimes the Champions of Olympia fog just straight up breaks. So making it a little bit smoother, making it a little bit softer is nice. Also with Champions of Olympia, just watching how it just instantly everything disappears like the second you walk out of range is very frustrating. So hopefully that is one of the things that they changed. They also changed the location of the exclude button in Olympia and Soroli Crisis, making it more intuitive and easier to access. That's almost useless. And then they added a shortcut to the Kalkurak ceremony event, which I actually very much like. The final idea was the feedback form, which is the best way to give Lilith advice. So if you find something that you don't like in the game and you want to tell Lilith, that's the best way to do it. They actually read this. They always read the results in these forms. So if you want to give Lilith feedback, for example, I'm personally going to give them feedback on the multiple marches, hoping that they do actually implement the idea of giving them a slight stagger time between their spawns. this is the best way to do it, and all you have to do is enter your governor ID, and you get a free 500 gems. So I highly recommend doing the feedback form. It is a nice free amount of gems. Now, if you enjoyed today's video and you like this type of content where I try to put my opinion mixed in with facts that have been given by Lilith, and also give ideas to improve the game and discuss ways that you can get more value, consider subscribing to the Archer Syndicate YouTube channel. We are one of the fastest growing Rise of Kingdoms channels at the moment, and your subscription is very, very much appreciated. Now, I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.